What if America's latest move to protect American jobs actually ends up destroying them? What if a policy meant to strengthen the U.S. economy actually hands over our technological dominance to China and India on a silver platter? Today, we're breaking down President Trump's bombshell H-1B visa policy, a $100,000 fee that's sending shockwaves through Silicon Valley and beyond. But here's the twist. While this move sounds patriotic on the surface, the deeper you dig, the more it looks like America might be shooting itself in the foot. Quote, U.S. President Donald Trump shook thousands of American dreams this weekend with an abrupt decision to slap a $100,000 fee on skilled worker permits, the H-1B visas. What followed was panic, chaos, and a hasty White House climb down. I'm going to show you exactly why economists, tech leaders, and even some unexpected voices are warning that this policy could backfire spectacularly. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just what Trump did, but why it might be one of the most economically damaging moves America has made in decades. Section 1. What exactly happened? Let's start with the facts. On September 18, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order that changes everything about how America hires skilled foreign workers. Here's what changed overnight. Companies now pay $100,000 for each new H-1B visa application. This is a one-time fee, not annual as initially reported. The fee only applies to new applicants, not renewals. Companies must prove payment before filing their petition. To understand how massive this change is, consider this. Previously, H-1B filing fees ranged from just $2,000 to $5,000, depending on company size. Trump just increased that by $2,000 to $5,000%. The chaos was immediate. Major tech companies like Amazon and Microsoft sent urgent emails to their H-1B employees, warning them not to leave the United States or to return immediately if they were overseas. But here's where it gets interesting and where the policy might backfire. Section 2. The economic argument. Why H-1B workers actually help America. Now, before we dive into why this might hurt America, let's address the elephant in the room. Trump's justification is simple: protect American jobs from foreign competition. But here's what the data actually shows. The job creation reality. Contrary to popular belief, H-1B workers don't steal American jobs, they create them. A study by the National Foundation for American Policy found something remarkable. Quote, a study by the National Foundation for American Policy, NAFP, found that for every H-1B visa position requested by an employer, an average of 7.5 additional jobs are created in the U.S. Think about that. For every one foreign worker hired, 7.5 additional American jobs are created. This isn't theory, this is measurable economic data. The innovation engine. Here's something most people don't know. H-1B workers are the backbone of American innovation. A 2019 study found that higher rates of successful H-1B applications were directly correlated with increased number of patents filed, more patent citations, higher startup success rates, better venture capital funding outcomes. Quote, a study conducted in 2019 revealed that higher rates of successful H-1B applications were positively correlated with an increased number of patents filed and patent citations. Moreover, such startups were more inclined to secure venture capital funding and achieve successful IPOs or acquisitions. The salary reality. Let's destroy another myth. H-1B workers aren't cheap labor.
In 2021, the median wage of an H-1B worker was $108,000, compared to $45,760 for U.S. workers in general. Quote, in 2021, the median wage of an H-1B worker was $108,000, compared to $45,760 for U.S. workers in general. Moreover, between 2003 and 2021, the median wage of H-1B workers grew by 52%. During the same period, the median wage of all U.S. workers increased by 39%. Not only do they earn more, but their wages grew faster than American workers' wages. This isn't a race to the bottom, it's pulling wages up. Economic multiplier effects. A comprehensive study by Regional Economic Models, Inc. found that expanding H-1B visas would create 227,000 new jobs in the first year alone, reach 1.3 million new jobs by 2045, increase national personal income by $13.7 billion immediately, generate up to $146 billion in additional income by 2045. Quote, the study concludes that new jobs would increase by 227,000 in 2014 and reach 1.3 million by 2045. The study also finds that an increase in H-1B visas would increase national personal income overall by $13.7 billion in 2014 and up to $146 billion in 2045.
Big tech, the winners. Meanwhile, companies like Netflix, Amazon, and Google can easily absorb this cost. Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings actually supports the fee, calling it a great solution. Quote, Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings said the policy would create, quote, more certainty for high-value jobs. Co-founder and chairman Reed Hastings also weighed in, describing Trump's $100,000 H-1B visa fee as a great solution and arguing it was preferable to the current lottery process. This creates a massive competitive advantage for big tech. Quote, big companies that can afford $100,000, a lot more than the smaller companies can afford it, will get a new advantage. Healthcare and education, collateral damage. It's not just tech that gets hurt. Healthcare and education sectors, which also rely heavily on H-1B workers, are facing massive challenges. Remember, during COVID-19, 8 major companies that develop vaccines employed 3,310 biochemists, biophysicists, chemists, and other scientists through the H-1B program. Quote, between FY 2010 and FY 2019, 8 U.S. companies that would later participate in the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, Gilead Sciences, Moderna Therapeutics, GlaxoSmithKline, Inovio, Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceuticals, Regeneron, Vir Therapeutics, and Sanofi received approvals for 3,310 biochemists, biophysicists, chemists, and other scientists through the H-1B program. Section 3. Who gets hurt the most? Now here's where Trump's policy gets really problematic. It's not hitting everyone equally. It's creating winners and losers in the worst possible way. Small businesses and startups, the biggest losers. Quote, as an early-stage startup, every hire is precious, and we only choose the best to go through the H-1B program because it not only costs money, but also takes time, said Desmond Lim, CEO and co-founder of HR, payroll, and hiring tech platform WorkStream. Think about what this means. A typical startup with $5 to $10 million in funding now has to spend 1 to 2% of their entire budget on a single visa application. Quote, the main problem becomes, is there enough local supply to meet demand if this international talent goes away? questioned Aizada Murat, founder and CEO of Alma, a San Francisco-based legal tech startup. Research backs this up. An NYU study interviewed 88 technology startup CEOs across the nation. When asked what single policy change would most help their businesses grow, more than one-third directly said loosening restrictions on hiring foreign talent was their biggest challenge. Quote, as part of the fieldwork interviews, the final question to respondents was what public policies, if any, would they change to better help their startups grow and succeed? This was an open-ended question, and the most common answer across interviews was to loosen restrictions on their ability to hire foreign talent. In fact, more than one-third of interviewees directly said that this was the biggest challenge for their startups. Section 5. The unintended consequences. Let's talk about what happens when you restrict high-skilled immigration. The results might surprise you. What small companies actually do. Remember that NYU study of startup CEOs? When they can't hire H1B workers, they don't hire Americans instead. About 70% of them hire overseas contractors. Quote, approximately 70% of startup executives answered yes to this question, implying that overseas contractors are being used as a substitute for foreign employees that they could not hire in the United States owing to the visa process. As one New York startup CEO explained, quote, as a startup, when you need talent, you can't leave a position unfilled for 6 months. We need talent filled not even next week, but today. The innovation exodus. There's growing evidence of what researchers call brain drain from the United States. The Century Foundation documented this trend. Quote, by restricting international talent and defunding the institutions that fuel discovery, the administration has triggered the start of a brain drain as U.S.-based innovators decamp for countries with stronger academic freedom, more research funding, and clearer protections for international students and scientists. Impact on multinational companies. A fascinating study found that when H-1B restrictions increase, U.S. multinational corporations don't hire more Americans. Instead, they decrease the number of jobs in the United States, increase employment at foreign affiliates, open new foreign offices, particularly in India, China, and Canada. Quote, another recent study found that restrictions on H-1B visas, such as rising denial rates, motivate U.S.-based multinational corporations to decrease the number of jobs they offer in this country. Instead, the corporations increase employment at their existing foreign affiliates or open new foreign affiliates, particularly in India, China, and Canada. Section 6. What the experts are saying. The reaction from economists and business leaders has been swift and largely negative. Tech leaders split. Interestingly, some of the biggest tech leaders actually support the move, but for reasons that might backfire. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang said, quote, we want all the brightest minds to come to the U.S. and remember, immigration is the foundation of the American dream. We represent the American dream. And so I think immigration is really important to our company and is really important to our nation's future. And I'm glad to see President Trump making the moves he's making. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman agreed. We need to get the smartest people in the country, and streamlining that process and also sort of outlining financial incentives seems good to me. But here's the problem. Both NVIDIA and OpenAI can afford the $100,000 fee. They're not thinking about the startup that can't. The contrarian view. Box CEO Aaron Levy provided a more nuanced perspective, warning that the fee structure turns international hiring into a spending game that smaller companies cannot win.
Quote, Box CEO Aaron Levy is pushing back against President Trump's $100,000 H-1B visa fee, warning the policy will give large tech companies an unfair advantage over cash-strapped startups in the competition for global talent. Speaking on the A16Z podcast alongside Andreessen Horowitz Partners, Levy argued that the steep fee structure essentially turns international hiring into a spending game that smaller companies cannot win. The economic research. Multiple economic studies paint a clear picture. A comprehensive analysis found that H-1B workers complement rather than compete with American workers, fill critical skill gaps in STEM fields, create net positive employment effects, boost wages for complementary American workers. Quote, according to many economists, the presence of immigrant workers in the United States creates new job opportunities for native-born workers. That is why unemployment rates are relatively low in occupations that employ large numbers of H-1B workers. Critical expert analysis. The New York Times provided a scathing assessment of the policy's flaws. Quote, something that addresses the right problem and sounds good on paper can still lead you down the exactly same problematic road, said John Lettieri, president of the Economic Innovation Group, a think tank that has studied the H-1B program. Quote, primarily, we'll see small businesses being locked out of the program, said Cecilia Esterline, a senior immigration policy analyst at the Niskanen Center, a think tank. It's kind of incoherent. Let me bring all of this together to show you why this policy could be an enormous strategic mistake. America's innovation edge at risk. America's dominance in technology isn't because of natural resources or geography. It's because we've been the world's magnet for talent. According to the National Foundation for American Policy, nearly 2/3 of billion-dollar startup companies in the United States were founded or co-founded by immigrants or their children. Quote, according to the National Foundation for American Policy, nearly 2/3 of billion-dollar startup companies in the United States were founded or co-founded by immigrants or their children. These companies generate trillions of dollars in revenue and employ millions of people worldwide. The AI competition. This is particularly dangerous as we compete with China in artificial intelligence. As Bakiskan noted, investments in artificial intelligence are unlikely to offset the damage caused by the loss of human capital under restrictive immigration policies. The uneven playing field. The policy creates an uneven playing field that favors exactly the wrong companies. Large corporations that can absorb the cost will get even more powerful, while the startups that drive innovation get squeezed out. The global talent war. While America builds walls, other countries are building bridges. Canada, the UK, Australia, and even countries like Germany are actively recruiting the talent that America is pushing away. U.S. startups may experience reduced funding momentum, while Europe could see a relative uplift in both talent inflows and investor attention, said Crossbridge Capital's Chief Investment Officer, Manish Singh. So here's the bottom line. Trump's H-1B policy might sound like it's protecting American workers, but the evidence suggests it could end up doing exactly the opposite. The real consequences. American startups lose their ability to compete for global talent. Big tech gets an even bigger advantage. Innovation moves overseas. Job creation slows down. Economic growth suffers. What we're really seeing, this isn't about protecting American jobs. It's about fundamentally changing how America competes in the global economy. And based on decades of economic research, we might be changing it for the worse. The irony is stark. A policy designed to make America stronger could end up making it weaker. A policy meant to protect American jobs could end up sending those jobs overseas. A policy intended to boost American innovation could end up handing our technological leadership to our competitors. Your turn. What do you think? Is this a necessary correction to protect American workers? Or is it a strategic mistake that will hurt America's competitive edge? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this analysis valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the policies that are shaping our economic future. And share this video, because understanding the real impact of these policies is crucial for every American. Next week, I'll be breaking down exactly how this affects Indian IT companies and what it means for the global tech landscape.